Welcome back, dear learners. In the second lecture of Module 2, we'll learn about some basic intensity transformation functions like linear functions, logarithmic functions, and power law functions. And finally, we'll learn about piecewise linear transformation functions. Let's learn some basic intensity transformation functions, are also called as gray level transformation functions. And these functions are considered the simplest of all image enhancement techniques. Basically, we are doing point processing or a single pixel manipulation. We are not using mask processing or filters here. The value of pixels before and after processing will be denoted by R and S respectively, and this is given by the expression S is equal to T of R, where T is a transformation function that maps a pixel value R into a pixel value S. Three basic types of functions used for image enhancement frequently are basically linear functions, logarithmic functions, and power law functions. And in this graph you can see all three functions. So linear function is given by this identity or negative line here, negative transformation function. So identity is basically input is equal to output, and unit increase in input will result in unit increase in output. Negative transformation does the opposite. Whatever pixel value we have in input image will be inverted. Maximum will become minimum, minimum will become maximum. So this is the negative transformation. And logarithmic function, we have the logarithmic curve here and its inverse log function. And then we have the power law transformation, within which we have nth power transformation and nth root transformation. This is the nth power transformation, and here is the nth power, and this is the nth root function. So we'll look into the uses of each one of them in detail. First transformation function we are going to learn is the linear function. In that first part is the identity function. Identity function doesn't affect anything in an image. It basically means it's keeping a copy of the image. Output is same as input. So output intensities are identical to the input intensities. This function doesn't have an effect on the image. It was included in the graph only for completeness, and its expression is S is equal to R. Next type of linear function is the image negative or negative function. It's opposite to the identity function. Identity function started at the origin and went this way like this. So image negative is opposite to that. And here you can see x-axis is input, y-axis is output. So higher input values here, higher input value is mapped to low levels of output, and low input value like this, if it is 0 to 100. So if I say if it is around 10 here, it will be mapped to somewhere around 90, and input value of around 100 will be mapped to 0, and input of 0 will be mapped to 100 in the output. So it's basically inverting the levels. And in this example you can see there's a doll, and if you apply the image negatives, the result will be like this. And you observe the changes here. The background in the circle is white here, and it has been changed into dark here. And this inside the rectangular area you have this black part, and that has been turned into complete white here. and the foreground also, wherever you have white, you can see it has turned into black, and wherever you had black, it has turned into white. So this is basically a negative in a film. The negative of an image with gray level in the range is 0 to L minus 1, where L is the largest value, is obtained by the expression S equal to L minus 1 minus R. That means L, if suppose if L is 256, we are talking about 8-bit image here. So if L is 256, then uh, S will be 256 minus 1 minus R, which is the input pixel value. So consider R to be a darker pixel, something like 25 pixel value. R value is 25. So it's a relatively black pixel value. Now, if you put that value 25 in this expression, then S will become 256 minus 1 minus 25. So that means S will become 256 minus 1, 255 minus 25, 230, 230, which is a white pixel. So this black pixel, which is 25 in input image R has turned into 230, which is a white pixel, brighter pixel compared to the input. So this is how the reversal is happening. So to summarize this, so negative transformation basically reverses the intensity levels of an input image, and it produces the equivalent of a photographic negative, like you had in the olden days. A negative is developed into a full color image or a black and white image with proper representation. So same task of that negative is done by the negative transformation. Now in order to think about the application of this negative transformation, uh, we can think about a printing application where you want to print some from some document which is stored in the computer, and that uh, that soft copy is having large black area. So in that case, it makes sense to invert that image to get white background, so that you can save the cartridge ink. So if you have black surface area or black dominant printing sheet, means your printer will simply waste lots of ink trying to print that black part on the paper. And if you invert the input image and make it white dominant, that means white, you don't have to put anything on the paper. uh, Paper itself is white. So wherever you have black representation, put the ink, so that can save uh, cartridge ink. Next type of transformation that we are going to learn is the log transformation. It is given by the expression S equal to C into log of 1 plus R, and it is given by these two curves illustrated in the graph, log and inverse log. In the expression, C is a constant and R is greater than or equal to 0. Now if you observe the curve, you can note that in this log curve, the darker pixel values, like here, so less than L by 4, intensity value L by 4, are mapped to a higher level, higher range. So it is basically expanding the darker uh, intensities into wider range. And again, if you note here, it is compressing the higher intensities, like anything above L by 2, x-axis is input, anything above L by 2 to the maximum level L minus 1 is having this narrow range, only this much is mapped. Okay, so it is performing compression for higher intensities while it is expanding the lower range. like 0 to L by 4, this one fourth of low intensities or intensity range is mapped into somewhat uh, 3/4 level. So this small range is mapped onto this range. So this is expansion or spreading is happening for lower ranges, and for higher value intensities we can see the compression. Only this narrow range is mapped. So this is the working of a log transformation. And similarly, you can observe in the inverse log, it is compressing the lower ranges while expanding the higher ranges. So the inverse of log function is carried out by the inverse log function. So in this example, we'll see the effect of applying log and inverse log transformation. So if you apply the inverse log, it makes the image darker because we are suppressing the lower intensities and expanding on the brighter intensities. So it's basically making the images darker. Now if you apply the log transformation, it makes the image brighter because it is expanding the darker pixel into wider range, and it's preserving the white pixels. So the overall effect is the image becomes somewhat brighter, and inverse log makes the image darker. And so to highlight what happens with the logarithmic transformations, it maps a narrow range of low gray level values in the input image into a wider range of output levels, and it is used to expand the values of dark pixels in an image while compressing the higher level values. It compresses the dynamic range of image with large variations in pixel values. So this is one classic example for logarithmic transformation. This is a Fourier spectrum, and Fourier spectrum typically has a wide range. Its range is from 0 to 10 raised to 6, and with a 8-bit pixel representation, it's very difficult to see all the spectral components because uh, the brighter components dominate, and the small intensity range values are suppressed or become uh, invisible as in the input image, this one. Now if you use the log transformation to map this with c equal to 1, and you can see all the components very clearly. So this is one example of logarithmic transformation where it helps to view the spectral components after you take the Fourier transformation. Inverse logarithmic transformation does the opposite function to that of a log transformation, and we basically use it to expand the values of higher pixels in an image while compressing the darker level values. Third type of transformation function is the power law transformation, and they are more versatile than the logarithmic transformations. And this power law transformation has the basic form of S is equal to C into R raised to gamma, where C and gamma are positive constants. And by varying the gamma value, you can get different transformation curves. So these are the transformation curves that you can obtain by varying the values of gamma, and you can see here for values of gamma less than 1, the curve will resemble a logarithmic transformation curve where the image becomes a bit more brighter as we are expanding on the uh, low intensities. And for gamma equal to 1, it's a linear transformation, input is equal to output. So to recall, this graph uh, uh, is having x-axis as input, y-axis is output. This is the transfer function basically, and here S is output and R is the input pixel value, and gamma is the uh, factor which guides the shape of the curve. So for values of gamma greater than 1, so the characteristic curve resembles a inverse log function where the images become a bit more darker. And using this power law function will have significant effect on the outcome of the image. Let's look into the more important aspect of gamma correction of power law transformation. So the devices we use for capturing an image or printing or displaying have their natural tendency of responding according to a power law. They make the images brighter or darker depending on their characteristics. We can use gamma correction to correct this phenomena or this power law response phenomena. And if you consider the example of a CRT device, they have a intensity to voltage response which is a power law function with exponents varying from approximately 1.8 to 2.5. And if you recall from the previous slide, when you have the value of gamma more than 1, like here 1.8 to 2.5, the images will become darker. And with the CRT devices, the pictures would tend to, or the display would tend to produce images that are darker than intended. Let's understand that example of CRT monitor and how we apply the gamma correction to correct the uh, displayed image. So this is the input image that we want to display on the CRT monitor, and because the CRT monitor is having a gamma function which is shaped like this with a gamma value of 1.8 or 2.5, the image appears darker. So if you recall the gamma function, if the value is more than 1, it will make the images look darker. So this is what's happening on a CRT monitor. Now in order to correct this, what we can do is we can manipulate the input image uh, like this. So we perform gamma correction and we make the input image appear a bit more brighter. Now you can observe the difference here with the input and the corrected image. So in the wedge image, it's a linear grayscale wedge image. So this is the black intensity level, and it gradually increases to a full bright pixel value towards the right. And on the display, it is appearing as more darker and then white at the end. So this is having a darkening effect here. Now in order to correct it, we have a gamma correction, and look at the output here. It has become more brighter. So you can see the darker area in the original input image has been reduced into this smaller region. And this is done using gamma correction, and the function that we use resembles something like this. This is the operator. This is the gamma value less than 1.6 or zero 0.3 value we will use to brighten up the input image itself. And then when we connect this input image to the monitor, it will appear like this. So this output image resembles the input image exactly, and the effect of this gamma function is to nullify the effect of this gamma function. This is more than 1 and this is less than 1. When we combine them, it results in a linear function. Okay, output equal to input. So this is the gamma correction in work. In addition to gamma correction, we can use the power law transformation to perform some useful contrast manipulation operations like this one. So this is the input image or the original image of a fractured human spine. This is a MRI scan image, and if you apply gamma values of 0 0.6, 0.4 and 0.3, this will be the result. So you can see the original image is a bit darker. Now if you want to make the less brighter areas to appear more brighter, you can use gamma functions of 0 0.6, 0 0.4 and 0.3, and this will be the result. And you can see here this image with a gamma of value of 0.3. You can view these uh, background or this region clearly here, which is not that much visible in the input image. It's basically that area appears as totally dark here. and it's very difficult to make out what's there. So this is the application of gamma value less than 1. Now if you go for gamma value more than 1, it makes the images darker. Now what could be the application? So let's see. So this is the aerial image of a area, and as you can see, it is somewhat hazy. uh, there is a white glare in the image, and in order to remove that white glare and to view the area properly, we can apply gamma value 3, 4 and 5, and this will be the result. So if you apply gamma of 3, 4 and 5, you can see the background area, okay, and the haze is totally eliminated, and all the background area is clearly visible in the picture. So this is the application of power law transformation. Next type of transformation functions that we are going to learn is the piecewise linear transformation functions. And here the principal advantage for this is it is more suitable to specific applications. And uh, and even though some form of piecewise linear functions can be arbitrarily complex, but still they provide more options to design. And as I mentioned, some important transformations can be formulated only as a piecewise function. The disadvantage here, because of their specification, it requires more user input than previous transformations like power law or log transformations. So user specification or user input is critical for piecewise linear transformation functions. The types that we will learn are contrast stretching, gray level slicing, and the last one, bit plane slicing. Contrast stretching is the simplest of piecewise linear functions, and it is used to enhance low contrast images. Low contrast images are, are a result of poor illumination or wrong setting of lens aperture during image acquisition. This image gives the form of a transformation function where you can see we have three linear pieces. That's why we generally call these things as piecewise linear transformation functions. Three linear pieces here joined together, and what we are doing here is we are trying to stretch the contrast. That means we are suppressing the lower intensities to more darker shades, means darker pixels will be made more darker and brighter pixels in this region will be made more brighter. So to understand this, so we know that this x-axis is input level and y-axis is output. X is R and output is S. So till L by 4 or middle of L by 4 to L by 2, uh, the input will be limited to this level. Okay, so range is compressed for darker pixels, and for this intensity from this level, okay, more than L by 2 till the maximum level, we have already reached the peak value, okay, almost like this. So again, whiter pixels are made more whiter, or brighter pixels are more made more brighter, and we have a straight line in between this with the uh, more slope in between. Now this is the input image that we want to enhance, and as you can see, this is a blurry image. You cannot make out exactly what it is. It's a coffee bean, obviously, but it's blurry. The difference between the background or this black area and the foreground is less. Now, if we apply this transformation function, this contrast stretching form, this will be the result. You can see that the image is quite clear. The background is black and the foreground is this coffee bean with dots on it. It's quite clear. Now if you stretch this to extreme, and if you make it as two level output, means if you try to do thresholding in the sense this R1 S1 moves to this L2 point, and this R2S2 will be on this point. Okay, this becomes a straight line. If you do thresholding, uh, the result will be like this. So thresholding, I'll draw what happens if you do thresholding. Something like this transformation will look like this. So anything less than L by 2 will be black, anything more will be white. So either black or white pixel you will get. This is the result of thresholding. Next type of a piecewise linear transformation function is the gray level slicing. It is used to highlight a specific range of gray levels in a given image, like you want to highlight the face or any object uh, of which you know the intensity range, you want to highlight it and suppress all other intensities, or uh, you keep the other intensities as they are, or and highlight the region of interest more prominently. It can be implemented in several ways, but the two basic themes are as follows. First technique or approach is to display a high value for all gray levels in the range of interest and a low value for all other gray levels. And this transformation produces a binary image, basically two intensity levels. And the second approach is to brighten the desired range of gray levels but preserve gray levels unchanged. Okay, we'll see what exactly we mean by this. Let's understand the two approaches that we discussed. In the first approach, as you can see in this graph, we are highlighting the range between A and B. This range is highlighted to a higher level, and all other levels are suppressed. So, for example, if you consider a 256 level image, this is the input, which is represented by R, output, which is represented by S. Okay. So input pixel value, if it is less than say 130, so this, if this is 130 and this is 180, 180. Okay, so if the input pixel value is less than 130, we'll keep it to a minimum value, say 10. And if it is between 130 and 180, we'll assign it a higher level, say around 200. Just representation values. Okay. And anything beyond 180, 180 to 256, we'll again peg it back to 10. So in output, we'll have only two levels, either 10 or 200. Okay. And in the second approach, what we do is we preserve the pixel values as they are. We are not going to change them, but we will highlight only the specific range, like between A and B. For this image, I think it's 100 to around 150. That range is boosted to around somewhere around 230. Okay, around 230. We change the levels to 230, and anything beyond uh, B is kept as it is. So we are not going to change any pixel value. Okay, so only in the middle range we are going to highlight. So to illustrate the first method, let us consider this example. Okay, example of a bridge crossing a canal here. Now, in order to highlight this bridge, okay, so we'll use the first transformation and see what is the effect of this. Now, see, if you apply this first transform, only this bridge portion is highlighted, this portion is highlighted. Okay, so between the red lines is highlighted, and all other levels, because they do not fall in the range of interest, are suppressed. They are made darker like this. Okay, so this part is made darker, and only this bridge lining is visible, or the boundary walls are visible. Okay, so this is the technique we are doing in gray level slicing. Third type of piecewise linear transform that we are going to learn is the bit plane slicing. As we know, image is composed of a group of pixels, and each pixel is represented by bits. Uh, and using bit plane slicing, we can highlight the contribution made to the total image appearance by specific bits. And basically we can break down the 8-bit image into 8 1-bit planes. Okay, you can have 8 1-bit planes in a grayscale image with 8 bits per pixel, like this one. So the this is the 0th bit, which is least significant, and this is the 7th bit, which is the most significant. The most significant bits contain the majority of visually significant data, and we can use this method for image compression and other processes. Like you can imagine bit 0, if you have 8-bit image 1 0 1 1 0 0 1 0, if this is the pixel value, then this is the LSB and this is the MSB. Now this LSB can affect only two levels. It can be either 0 or 1, uh, and this bit can affect four levels. Okay, 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1, and this can affect 8 levels, and so on, and this can affect 256 levels. Okay, MSB can affect 256 levels if you change it, but LSB can affect only 2 levels. Now you can see the contribution made by this LSB 1 bit, 2 bit or 3 bit can affect only just 8 levels maximum uh, if you reset these 3 bits. So it won't have that much significant effect on the appearance of the image, and you can basically cut down these 3 bits while saving, so that you can save some space, and while recreating the image just simply append zeros in these 3 bits place. You'll have somewhat similar looking image, okay, with the less loss of information or visual appearance. But you cannot do the same for the MSB bits because it contains the most significant data. We'll see the example in the next slide. So this is a 8-bit fractal image. Fractal image is basically generated from mathematical expressions, and it's a good looking image with full details. Now if you analyze the contribution made by each pixel, you can see here this is the 7th bit MSB bit, this is 6th, and as you can move to 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd bit, 1st bit, and the 0th bit, which is the LSB, and this is the MSB. You can see the 0th bit basically it doesn't give you any information. It looks like a noise here. Even the first bit, even the second bit you can see a bit of information, but still it's not significant. As you move towards higher bits like third, fourth, you can see the pattern appearing, and the sixth bit or fifth, sixth, and seventh bit contain more information, and seventh bit you can clearly see the pattern of the final image. So the 7-bit has more impact on the overall appearance of the image than the 0th bit, which is basically looks like a noise. If you even if you reset the last bit, it doesn't have any effect on the overall appearance of the image. We have come to the conclusion of second lecture of module 2. So in this lecture we have looked at some basic intensity transformation functions like linear functions, logarithmic functions, and power law functions. We also studied about piecewise linear transformation functions such as contrast stretching, ray level slicing, and bitplane slicing. In the next lecture we'll learn about histograms, what they are and how they are useful, and then histogram processing. See you at the next lecture. Thank you.